Welcome to the sixth panel of this global forum. My name is Pierre Sauvé, as Axel said, and I'm here working in the Geneva office of the World Bank. And it's a great pleasure to be moderating this last session. We always keep the best for last. And so value for money, the sexiest topic, no doubt, in EIF work, we keep for last. Good. Silence has been achieved, has been secured. This is a 30-minute session with 4 speakers, and I interpret that as meaning the moderator should speak very little, say very little, which is fine by me. But let me just say 2 things in providing some context to this session. First, value for money is a relative newcomer to the EIF landscape. A framework on value for money was only adopted in October of 2016, less than 6 years ago. And I think it remains very much a work in progress. The political economy of novelty teaches me that anything you haven't done for a long time is something you do with some degree of trepidation and caution, and in learning by doing. So I think this is the approach we should be taking to this issue. It's challenging to prove to donors that what you are doing is always and everywhere providing value for money. And some of the concepts in the framework that guide value for money are themselves challenging. What is the difference between effective and efficient outcomes? I was in a G20 meeting a few weeks ago in India where there was a semantic debate that lasted way too long over the difference between digitization and digitalization. And for some people, there was a fundamental difference between the two. I won't bore you with the details. So what is the difference between an effective EIF outcome and an efficient EIF outcome? You can see how this remains a bit challenging. And it's more challenging still in an LDC context, where resources are scarce, where the choice of those you procure services from may be limited, where economic activity tends to be highly concentrated in capitals. And so from an inclusive perspective, getting a whole of economy outcome may prove challenging. These are all issues we struggle with. Even I at the World Bank, working for this gigantic organization, we struggle in proving to donors who support us that we are always and everywhere providing value for money. So I think that's the spirit that we should have in listening to the presentations today from 4 NIUs on how they are implementing the value for money framework, some of the successes they've had, but also some of the challenges they face. That's the spirit, I hope, of this session. And that will be the end of my talking. So let me ask first, our first speaker will be from Lao PDR, who was already in the previous panel. Mrs. Phongsavat, if you can provide us with a bit of insight in how, in implementing EIF projects that aim at essentially boosting the participation of Laotian firms, and I suspect MSMEs in regional and global value chains, how you've adopted one of the buzzwords of the VFM concept, which is agility, and trying to embed and to promote national human resources in achieving your project aims. In other words, how do you leverage the support you're getting from the EIF to be both agile, but also building capacity that is going to be sustainable on the ground?
Okay, thank you. As we are now on the seasons of value of money, so I would like to share the experience of the Lao PDR that we implemented number of TRTA in brief. So this is the overall of our project design for the project that we have been implementing since 2019 until September 2023. With the project promote export competitiveness and sustainability support to public-private dialogue in northern part of Laos. It's called ECL projects. So the projects comply with two components. The main component, namely improve local business environment and improve competitiveness of target sector. So the first components was designed to implement through the two interventions. The first one is simplifications of procedure for registration and licensing of business operating and in general manufacturing. This success could lead to reductions of the time and involved in starting business and facilitate private investor. So in this key sector that have poor potential, and for the second one is to support public-private dialogue to address specific issue facing trader, producer, and MSEs in service sector, which could make significant to the local business environment. So the second components aim to enhancing the productivity of the key target sector, aim at rising the productivity of the target sector, including the textile handicraft in the three target provinces. The rice sector in Luang Namtha province, maize in Udom Sai, and tea in Phong Sali province. In terms of project implementation, we have decentralization through the hiring the consultants based in each province to facilitate. It's also reduce the cost of travel to each province. So the project design was quite suitable even during the COVID-19 pandemic. So the government did not allow to travel to other province, but our project still running because with our descriptions, because we have consultants based in that area with each province. So, and for the public for the project management and capacity building, is not only providing support to the NIU, but it's also beneficiary in the three provinces. So this one, the map of the our country. I would like to show to you that so NIU is based in Vientiane, capital city, but our project focus area are located in northern part of Laos, which are quite mountainous area and numbers of rice farmer, maize and tea producers that receive support from this EIF projects. There's in a group of villagers who are living in rural area of this northern province. We could say that the key result that we have been achieved through the project implementation is great success of the value of money that we support the poor to generate income to the family, especially the handicraft sector. And for this one, in terms of project implementation arrangement, NIU have played an important role on the overall project management. Our units complete with the the technical advisor, and we also here is the government structure that through our project focus area is we maximize the provincial ownership with provincial industry and commerce department, and provincial and district is set up in the project implementations. And as I already mentioned, the value of money. So this is the guideline that we are following. The first one is we based on the procurement guideline and FM guideline that Ministry of Finance. So currently, the expenditure norm, we are using the number 200 of MOF. So this comply is a guideline that NIU need to strictly follow up and representing the official regulations from the Lao government. And we also follow up the UNOF, like procurement guideline and FM guideline. And not only this one, we also follow the guideline from World Bank as well, because as I mentioned in earlier, we are overall for the project. So just not only the UNO project or EIF, but we also implementing the World Bank project as well. So all these promote a uniform standard across to the 848 project and conduct continue and capacity building for not only with the NIU, but also the project stakeholder in order to ensure the transparency of the project implementation. So that's all for me. So thank you so much. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your intervention, which I found very interesting because it showed, first of all, important elements of equity as well. You're trying to really have an implementation strategy that is spatially diverse across the range of your country, and that's extremely important. If we always trumpet the importance of inclusivity for trade, and so project design that reaches out to different parts of a country are going to help promote that objective. And you ended on procurement, which is a very important aspect of EIF implementation, project implementation, but also a very challenging one, because procuring domestic services in LDCs, may be challenging because there's maybe not an abundant supply of qualified suppliers. And so I moved to Cambodia. I stay in the neighborhood, but I moved to Cambodia with Chair Lechea, who is the director of the Department of International Cooperation and also the NIU coordinator, and ask you specifically to focus on this question of procurement. How do you, in implementing EIF projects, how do you strike a balance between the usefulness of procurement as an instrument of domestic capacity building, and at the same time to try to be as cost effective and minimize the cost of your procurement? So it's this challenging balancing act that is embedded in the act of procuring services with a view, again, to building sustainable capacity domestically.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. And first of all, I would like to, to inform you and the audience that, Cambodia always attach our great importance to the principle of value for money, and also the effective management of the resources that we mobilize from donor and development partner. And let me begin with the project that we are implementing right now. Here, the EIF project implementation from 2010 to 2020, from the EIF Tier 1 to EIF Tier 2. And I don't want to mention all the project here, just the number of the project that we have received so far from the DIF, Cambodia Export Diversification and Expansion Program. We call in short CDAP, and we have two CDAP, CDAP 1 and CDAP 2, which I presented yesterday about productive capacity building, which we received from the International Development Agency, as well as leveraging the capacity of domestic firm to work on that. And we also implemented sustainability support project called in short SSP, and also Cambodia trade integration strategy update from 2007 to the current update of the CTSIU 2019 to 2023. And we have been able to formulate the e-commerce strategy, which is very important instrument for outlining and also addressing the current issue and proposed policy option for the plan of action to implement e-commerce element in Cambodia. And the current project implementation of the Go for eCam, which is very important for Cambodia to accelerate our momentum with the e-commerce ecosystem, both in regional and multilateral platform. So all this project, like I mentioned from the beginning, we always attach our self with the principle of value for money, and also promote the national ownership, which is very important for Cambodia, to use our existing resources. For example, like we are using our government officials, civil servant, to implement the project, and also to monitor and evaluate the project among the project team, in addition to the requirement by the EAF and also the guideline by the government of Cambodia. And here I just want to highlight, how did we work during COVID-19 with the various project implementation that I just outlined. During the project, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we have two important strategies which we need to conduct the review and also the evaluation. And because of the meeting restriction, we couldn't, go to the ground, and also call for line ministries and agency meetings. So we conduct all the meeting, online. And also there was also the issue that, during the Go for eCam project implementation, like the moderator said, perhaps, procuring the firm services firm in LDC is difficult. That's why, during that time, the procurement team was able to talk to selected, local firms, and we were able to commence our work on time without delay. And during that time, we also used online and virtual platform or means of communication to communicate and operate our project during the pandemic. So let's move to the. Let's come to the principle for the value for money that Cambodia are using. First is the compliances. We always comply with the Cambodia Standard Operating Procedure. We call in short SOP, which apply to all project implementation in Cambodia. It's all the SOP is has been developed by the government and used for the external funded project, as well as the internal project in Cambodia. And we all abide to the EAF and TFM rules and guidelines, and also the MOU guidelines, as well as the EAF recommendation as well. So this is in terms of compliance. The second is the value through procurement, which we have established procurement committee, and also everything is going through that committee with the competitive benefit. And for us, we have to, stress the important that we have, the procurement team and also the finance team, which can leverage the national market to keep the project costs down and remain competitive. And always, Cambodia, we follow the project, procedure and guideline with the many plan, and also we have arrange all the asset and also the strategy for exit and sustainability after the project completion. So here, just to highlight the why Cambodia successfully implemented all the project, because we have a strong capable team in Department of International Cooperation, which we have 25 official, and we usually use official of the civil servant to serve the project implementation. We hire or contract to the services firm only the technical expertise that we don't have. That's why we propose the budget under the budget plan and work plan to hire external resources to work for the project. Basically, we have 4 bureaus under my Department of International Cooperation. We have a Resource Mobilization Bureau, we have a Resource Management Bureau, and also M&E Communication and also Administration Bureau. And this bureau, they are all purely civil servant, which we offer salary under the government scheme. We do not use any project budget to support this official. And like I said, apart from this official, we have to hire external expertise or for example like manager to to overall manage the project implementation. And we have the project task force, which we have clearly identify roles and responsibility for who will do what in the project implementation. And I would like to stress the important as well that during the project implementation, for the principle of value for money and also effective management of the resource that we have mobilized, we have the support from our management, which they give the credit and also the valuable work to our staff. So let me end my presentation here, and if you have any question, please reach out to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that intervention. I'm impressed by the degree of the sophisticated structure you've put in place within the NIU to implement the projects. This is very a good illustration, I think, of a best practice response. Let me move on from East Asia to West Africa. And I've been doing a very poor job of limiting your interventions to the 4 or 5 minutes that we were hoping for. This session is supposed to end in 4 minutes, so I'm doing a bad job as moderator, clearly. So I'm going to give the floor online to the next 2 speakers from Togo and Mauritania, respectively. And in the case of Togo, Mr. Paul Koka, who is the NIU implementation coordinator, I'm going to ask him to focus once more on procurement and especially on the pricing policy approach to ensuring cost effectiveness in sourcing decisions. On to you, Mr. Koka.
D'accord. Merci, Madame la modératrice. Bonjour à tout le monde. Voilà. Donc, au niveau du Togo, grosso modo, nous suivons quand même les procédures des marchés publics. Donc, bon, quand il s'agit d'optimiser les ressources, on le sait bien, c'est de maîtriser les consommations et de réorganiser l'espace de travail, améliorer les processus de décision et définir le rôle des collaborateurs et connaître les charges. Alors, en matière de gestion des ressources, c'est un processus qui consiste à planifier et à programmer donc les ressources à programmer les ressources donc, et pour désigner les différents éléments qui vous aident à mener et à bien le projet. Donc, l'équipement au fonds financier et en passant par les outils technologiques et les disponibilités des employés. Alors, comment, dans le cadre du Togo, la gestion des projets euh, a été optimisée? Donc, dans un premier temps, l'élaboration du budget par activité que le CIR a donné est un atout très avantageux. Alors, donc, dans la plupart des projets, les budgets sont composés par des lignes budgétaires dans lesquelles les actions sont menées. Alors, dans le cadre des projets CIR, il a été initié des budgets donc, par activité, comme je le disais tantôt, qui consiste à identifier pour chaque activité le nombre de bénéficiaires, la zone cible de l'activité, les actions de communication à mener et la durée. Alors, quand les bénéficiaires sont identifiés dans une zone géographique donnée pour diverses actions à mener, les activités sont regroupées et conduites en vue d'optimiser donc les ressources. Alors, les lieux d'organisation des activités sont choisis en tenant compte donc de la provenance des bénéficiaires afin de minimiser les coûts. Alors, l'optimisation par rapport aux règles du processus des marchés publics, comme je l'ai dit, les règles et le processus des marchés publics en vigueur au Togo permettent d'optimiser donc les ressources. Alors, ce sont des acquisitions des biens et services pour lesquels on fait des bons de commande. Alors, pour les montants compris entre 500 000 et 10 millions, donc le processus consiste à accorder la commande au commissionnaire qui a respecté les spécifications techniques d'abord et des biens et services demandés et dont le montant total facturé est le plus petit parmi tous les soumissionnaires qui ont respecté, bien sûr, les spécifications techniques. C'est très important. Alors, ce sont donc, pour les prestations intellectuelles, ce sont des évaluations, des audits, commandes, etc. Dans ce cas, le marché est accordé au soumissionnaire le mieux disant, c'est-à-dire le soumissionnaire dont le cumul des pourcentages obtenus de l'évaluation des offres techniques et financières est le plus élevé. Dans ce cas, la proposition financière du soumissionnaire est supérieure au budget. Lorsque c'est supérieur au budget, il y a des négociations. Le marché public autorise qu'il y ait une discussion avec celui qui est retenu, dont le montant est supérieur pour une négociation. Mais il faut reconnaître que lorsque le montant est inférieur à 500 000, c'est demande de proforma. C'est que lorsque c'est entre 500 000 et 10 millions qu'on fait des bons de commande, et c'est au-delà de 10 millions, donc jusqu'à 15 millions au-delà, là, on fait un appel à manifestation d'intérêt. Il a noté également que chaque année, l'État publie le répertoire de prix des biens et services qui constituent un référentiel de contrôle et d'évaluation des marchés publics au Togo. Donc, c'est de cette façon que nous suivons pour optimiser les ressources parce que nous mettons d'abord l'État devant et donc c'est de manière efficiente que les choses se font donc au Togo. Donc, que ce soit pour le projet de renforcement des capacités productives et commerciales du soja, que ce soit le projet de durabilité et de renforcement du commercial dans la cadre de qualité, c'est ce qui se fait. Même dans le cas de la catégorie 1, également, nous suivons les projets de marché public parce qu'il s'agit d'optimiser les ressources. Donc, le mieux disant, ce n'est pas nécessairement le moins disant. C'est pourquoi les capacités techniques sont prises en compte au Togo dans les analyses. Puisqu'il y a une sous-commission lorsque c'est au-delà de 500 000 et 10 millions, une sous-commission qui est mise en place et qui évalue donc les offres techniques d'abord, puis après les offres financières. Voilà ce que je peux dire en ce qui concerne la gestion et l'optimisation des ressources au Togo. Il est vrai que les comptes sont ouverts et c'est le coordonnateur et le point focal qui sont des signataires sur ces chèques, puisque les produits de catégorie 1 ont leur compte, les produits de catégorie 2 ont leur compte. Mais nous avons fait le product qui est un projet combiné où il y a la catégorie 1 et la catégorie 2 avec un seul compte, mais dans les signatures, il y a le coordonnateur qui signe les chèques pour la catégorie 1 et le chef de projet qui signe les chèques avec le point focal, bien sûr, les chèques pour la catégorie 2. Voilà un peu ce qui se fait au Togo. Donc, merci, monsieur le modérateur. Et c'est ça, tout à fait. Merci beaucoup.
Allô? Allô? Oui. Allô? Allô? Oui. Oui. Je fais entendre. Allô? Allô? Est-ce que vous m'entendez? Est-ce que vous m'entendez? Oui? Je m'entends, j'entends pas. Je vous entends mal. Allô? Oui? J'entends pas. Bon, je vais essayer de présenter de toute façon si vous m'entendez. En tout cas, moi, je n'entends rien. Je reçois rien comme son. Je sais pas. OK. Background. Ouais. C'est pas bon.
Bonjour Monsieur Hitt, j'espère que vous m'entendez. Je vous prie de nous
Oui, bon,
excuser.
je vous entends.
On
Moi,
a
je
un
vous entends.
souci de son, donc vous pouvez pas nous entendre, mais nous, on vous entend très bien, donc vous pouvez prendre la
Ah,
parole
merci.
pour votre intervention. Merci
Alors,
beaucoup.
bon, je prends la parole. Voilà. Merci beaucoup. Donc, c'est pour présenter le projet développement et promotion du tourisme durable dans le parc national du Ban d'Arguin en Mauritanie. Comme vous le savez déjà, le parc national est une zone maritime protégée où vivent des populations tout à fait, on peut les qualifier de pauvres et en majorité des femmes, qui offrent des hébergements, qui exercent des activités pour recevoir des touristes de passage et générer des revenus pour améliorer leurs conditions de vie. Donc, c'est dans ce contexte-là que ce projet a été initié pour destiné à renforcer les capacités d'hébergement des touristes qu'offrent donc ces femmes de la zone qui sont regroupées en coopératives communautaires et pour ainsi contribuer à améliorer le revenu. Donc, afin de faciliter donc la réalisation des activités prévues dans ce projet et permettre l'utilisation optimale des ressources du projet, nous avons pu articuler le plan d'action en 3 axes. Le premier axe, ce sont les investissements prévus à réaliser dans le cadre de ce projet. Le deuxième axe, c'est les formations nécessaires à organiser au profit des bénéficiaires, bien sûr, du projet. Et enfin, un troisième axe, c'est la promotion, les activités de promotion qui peuvent être réalisées pour un peu concrétiser, en tout cas, les objectifs du projet. Donc, c'est pour développer un peu le tourisme durable en Mauritanie, qui est en tout cas une activité à laquelle ça donne beaucoup de populations nécessiteuses dans des zones principalement rurales. Et pour préserver un peu, en tout cas, le système de développement durable dans notre pays. Les aspects donc appliqués en matière de sélection, les aspects donc appliqués dans la sélection, l'exécution et la supervision des activités sont décrits donc, je vais les décrire donc une à une. Donc, à l'instar bien sûr des projets du cadre intégré renforcé qui sont exécutés dans le cadre de mémorandums d'accord qui ont été très bien libellés et dans lesquels toutes les conditions sont clairement décrites. Donc, nous avons procédé à la mise en place d'un comité technique de suivi des projets. C'est-à-dire c'est un comité technique dédié spécialement au suivi des projets, qui est présidé par le point focal, bien sûr, du CIR au ministère du Commerce. Ce comité technique de suivi regroupe les représentants des parties prenantes, c'est-à-dire les représentants de l'autorité du parc du Ban d'Arguin, les représentants du ministère, c'est-à-dire les administrations directement concernées, et l'unité, c'est-à-dire les représentants de l'UNMOSIR, ainsi que les coopératives bénéficiaires qui sont représentées en nombre suffisant. Le deuxième aspect, c'est l'utilisation d'un manuel de procédure administrative, financière et comptable pour l'exécution des dépenses à réaliser. Donc, ce manuel de procédure qui est utilisé depuis quelques années par l'UNMOSIR est un... Oui, vous m'entendez toujours?
Oui.
Donc, ce manuel est appliqué dans le cadre de la gestion de ce projet. Un troisième point, c'est la mise en place d'un système de suivi régulier des progrès du plan d'action pour évaluer les avancées, identifier les problèmes potentiels et prendre les mesures correctives en temps opportun. Bien sûr que ce système est articulé aussi en 5 points. Quels sont les objectifs visés à travers ce système de suivi et évaluation que nous avons mis en place? Il y a une matrice de suivi qui est clairement décrite également et les mécanismes utiles de collecte d'informations. Comment on va procéder à collecter, à utiliser, exploiter l'information dans le cadre de ce projet. Et enfin, le rôle des principaux acteurs qui est également défini par rapport au suivi. Et enfin, le cadre de suivi, c'est-à-dire un cadre de suivi sous un format Excel dans lequel donc on répertoire toutes les actions qui sont réalisées et celles qui sont prévues à réaliser dans un avenir tout à fait clairement défini. Enfin, Donc, en quatrième et dernier point, donc, c'est l'organisation des visites sur le terrain et évidemment la concertation régulière ou permanente avec les coopératives des femmes qui sont les principales bénéficiaires. Ces coopératives donc, sont donc, à travers ces visites de terrain, elles sont informées sur les progrès, sur les défis rencontrés et sur les mesures prises pour faire face aux contraintes. Donc, toutes ces visites et toutes ces rencontres qu'on ne peut pas, qui ont été réalisées pour le lancement d'abord, avant le lancement du projet, au cours du lancement du projet et au cours également de la réalisation des travaux d'investissement qui nécessitaient des missions de terrain permanentes pour évaluer l'avancement des travaux. Et donc, dans ce cadre-là, je voudrais tout simplement souligner l'intérêt de ces visites de terrain qui ont permis d'identifier à partir de la première visite que le format prévu pour mettre en place un, un village communautaire, un village touristique dans cette zone-là, composé d'une quarantaine de loges, était excessif pour le village qui était un village qui ne pouvait pas exploiter tout ce format-là. Donc, et compte tenu
Monsieur
du
Witt,
fait
je suis
qu'il y a plusieurs
désolé de vous
villages,
interrompre. Je ne sais pas si vous
oui,
m'entendez, mais on doit
oui, je vous
conclure
entends.
cette séance. On a un peu de retard dans la conduite de cette séance. Donc, je vous demanderai de conclure rapidement, si possible, en moins d'une minute.
Merci beaucoup. Je m'excuse beaucoup. C'était un peu pour décrire un peu l'intérêt des visites de terrain que nous avons organisées pour un peu dupliquer, c'est-à-dire multiplier par 3 le nombre de villages qui bénéficient de ce projet, qui était initialement prévu en 7 villages, alors que nous avons pu, à travers la gestion et l'utilisation optimale des ressources, d'élargir ce campement touristique à 2 autres villages supplémentaires par rapport au village principal qui est visé par ce projet. Et merci beaucoup.
Merci, Monsieur Witt. Et désolé de vous avoir un peu
Voilà.
contraint de conclure hâtivement.
Mhm.
Le secrétaire exécutif du cadre intégré me dit qu'on a 0 minute. Il reste 0 minute dans cette séance. On est d'ailleurs à moins 8 minutes, je pense. Donc, on va surseoir aux questions, malheureusement, et c'est dommage. Et donc, je voudrais simplement vous demander, au nom du panel, de vous joindre à moi en les remerciant pour leurs interventions très utiles et qui montrent bien les efforts qui sont consentis pour mettre en œuvre cet élément relativement complexe des activités du cadre, mais aussi qui témoignent des progrès qui sont réalisés, qui sont peut-être supérieurs à ceux auxquels je m'attendais et qui montrent bien tout le sérieux que les NIU mettent en œuvre pour faire du cadre intégré le programme à succès que l'on connaît et qui mérite, bien sûr, un soutien et un suivi. Merci à tous.
Thanks to our moderator and to our panelists once more. Given our time constraint, I'll invite the executive director of the EIF, Mr. Radnaka, and he will be joined by our rapporteurs who will facilitate this session on reflections from our 2 days of sessions on the EIF programs. While we're transitioning, you can stand, stretch your legs. Let's all stand, stretch our legs. While we wait for the panel to get on.
So now for the session on reflections on lessons, we would like to invite the rapporteurs for each session to come onto the podium. So for the session 1 on NIUs, including sustainability, coordination, and mainstreaming of trade, the rapporteur is Mr. Bienvenu Koku, expert in trade policy and private sector promotion from Benin. For the session 2, leveraging resources and partners, the rapporteur is Mrs. Rita Magere, NIU coordinator of Tanzania. For session 3, catalyzing systematic changes in productive capacity, the rapporteur is Mrs. Dalia Jimenez, trade specialist from Angola. Session 4, promoting inclusive and sustainable trade, I invite Mrs. Aota Apinelu, NIU coordinator of Tuvalu. For the session 5, private sector engagement and regional integration, I invite the rapporteur, Ms. Zalata Dahalani, NIU coordinator of Comoros. And for the session 6, value for money and management of resources, I heard that Mariam Lisari from the Trust Fund Manager will be the rapporteur on behalf of Kiribati, who could not join us today. Thank you. Over to the moderator of the session, Dr. Ranaka Adhikari, Executive Director for the EIF.
Thank you, Rafael. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Axel. You've been a great facilitator. We've had extremely productive 6 sessions yesterday and this morning. Now is the time to reflect and capture key lessons. What is important is that speakers and participants did not only share success stories, but also highlighted some of the critical challenges they faced and how they were able to overcome those challenges. So therefore, in this session, we can also discuss what could have been done differently or what could have been done better. Here is the plan for the session, which will follow a roundtable format. I will first invite our moderators, the rapporteurs to present up to 3 key takeaways in 3 minutes for each session. So I'll be inviting them in turn. And this will be followed by intervention from the floor, which will be captured by the ES and TFM team here. I will then conclude the session. Before concluding the session, one of the things that I would like to do is to deliver a short vote of thanks, because towards the end, our closing session is already structured and we already have the speakers for the closing sessions here, including Ambassador Hassan, who is already here, and then from Norway, our colleague is also already here. So I would like to first and foremost start by inviting our rapporteur for the first session. And the first session, as you remember, was on NIU's National Implementation Unit, including sustainability, coordination, and mainstreaming of trade. So I would like to invite Rapporteur, Mr. Bienvenu Koku, for his intervention for 3 minutes. 3 takeaways, 3 minutes. Thank you.
Merci. Je disais donc que la première session s'est penchée sur la durabilité des unités nationales de mise en œuvre, leur intégration dans les ministères du commerce et ensuite sur l'intégration même et l'implication de ces unités dans la mise en œuvre du programme du cadre intégré renforcé. Au terme des échanges, nous pouvons retenir essentiellement que la durabilité des unités varie d'un pays à un autre. Nous avons suivi avec attention la présentation du coordonnateur des pays au niveau du secrétariat exécutif, qui a fait observer 3 formats de durabilité. Nous avons des pays dans lesquels il y a des unités où le personnel est constitués essentiellement des fonctionnaires. Nous en avons où c'est des fonctionnaires et des contractuels. Et nous avons aussi des systèmes hybrides. Nous avons assisté à des modèles qui peuvent faire école. Et c'est le cas, par exemple, d'un certain nombre de pays tels que le Vanuatu. Et il faut dire que dans l'un ou l'un des cas, la durabilité est sujette à un certain nombre de défis, notamment liés à la prise en charge du personnel. Et donc, ce qu'il faut retenir essentiellement en matière de durabilité, c'est comment faire pour que les unités, désormais, les unités de gestion deviennent des unités de gestion de l'APC. C'est qu'il faut sortir du cadre essentiellement du cadre intégré et confier aux unités d'autres tâches au-delà du strict cadre du cadre intégré. C'est le cas de Vanuatu, par exemple. Il faut également mettre en avant le leadership au niveau le plus élevé et ajouter à ça l'inclusion du commerce comme étant un rôle essentiel. Nous avons également vu un peu le rôle des arrangements nationaux de mise en œuvre du programme du cadre intégré. Et dans le dispositif actuel du programme du cadre intégré, nous avons les unités de mise en œuvre, nous avons le point focal, nous avons le facilitateur des donateurs, mais cet aspect en matière de mobilisation des ressources reste à approfondir. L'idée de pouvoir compter sur le facilitateur des donateurs pour pouvoir atteindre les objectifs du programme du cadre intégré renforcé. Il faut également retenir au terme de cette session que l'approche développée par le STDF consiste à impliquer les unités nationales de mise en œuvre dans l'élaboration des projets et vise également à approfondir les relations gouvernement-secteur privé. Enfin, des réflexions ont été menées sur les éléments clés de la réussite de la durabilité des unités nationales de mise en œuvre dans le contexte actuel du cadre intégré renforcé. Nous avons également mené des réflexions sur la valeur ajoutée unique du processus du cadre intégré et des arrangements nationaux de mise en œuvre. Le directeur, le modérateur me dit que je suis au thème de ma synthèse. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mr. Koku, for your intervention. And now I would like to invite Ms. Rita Magere, NIU coordinator from Tanzania, to provide us a snapshot of the session on leveraging resources and partners. 3 takeaways and 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. About the leveraging resource and partners, the first comments were given by the Chancellor, Christine from Switzerland, and he started by highlighting that the resource mobilization is the key strategy to EIF program up to date. EIF has supported more than 500 action in supporting leveraging and additional support. He went further saying that resource mobilization is not easy and straightforward. It requires time, concentration, effort. That's why EIF has developed a book for all participants to provide guidelines on how to leverage more resources to their project. She urges all the participants to share experience and challenges on what has worked well and what has not worked well, and at least provide reasons why it did not work for the way forward or to avail possible positions. The second speaker came online, a permanent secretary, Mr. Richard from Rwanda. He explained about the CPIU, Single Project Unit, how it gained additional support. In addition to EIF, its unit was supported by the World Bank and GIZ. Regarding the cross-border trade that was developed for DRC and Uganda for informal sectors, traders along the two borders. The project was co-financed by the World Bank and Trademark East Africa. The second speaker was from Mali, Mr. Dansine, the NIU coordinator, whereby he said the government of Mali has played a key role in supporting leveraging for the EIF project, whereby the government provide a budget supplement for the EIF project in Mali. Through the National Steering Committee, the meeting, the Minister of Finance mobilized resources from other stakeholders of all trade-related sectors in support of NIU. The third speaker was Marie, the Global Shia Alliance manager, whereby he said the initiatives aim to improve value addition and women's development. The programs involve PPP, public-private partnership, to enable them to scale up the project that spills out mobilized fund in the sector. The same Shia Bata case study was applied in Burkina Faso, a program where it's financed by EIF and the African Development Bank. The last speaker was Biriti from Kiribati. He shared experience in scaling up the EIF fund by mobilizing funds from the Indian, Brazil, South African Forum for the Virgin Coconut Oil. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sticking to time, Ms. Magiri. Now I would like to move to the session number 3, and this relates to catalyzing systemic changes in productive capacity. We have the trade specialist from Angola, Ms. Dalia Jimenez, who would be providing us a brief on the 3 key takeaways, mainly from this session in 3 minutes. So over to you, Madame Dalia Jimenez.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le directeur du cadre intégré renforcé. Je vais parler sur la 3e session, qui parle sur le changement du système catalysateur dans les capacités productives. On avait, ou bien j'ai eu l'opportunité d'avoir, ou bien de choisir les points plus intéressants. Le premier, c'est basé sur les questions de renforcement des capacités de l'unité nationale de mise en œuvre du cadre intégré renforcé. C'est-à-dire, dans ces points-là, c'est très important que les capacités soient exécutées au niveau national et en bénéfice du secteur privé. Une fois que c'est le secteur privé qui intervient dans la production nationale, donc il faut avoir une forte capacité de formation pour mieux répondre aux projets qui seront implémentés au niveau national. Pour la deuxième, j'ai choisi l'appropriation. C'est-à-dire que le secteur privé, en tant qu'agent économique, il doit approprier sur les projets. Ce n'est pas seulement d'avoir une limitation sur la production, mais en même temps, suivre la chaîne de valeur. C'est-à-dire que le CIR, il aide les pays, ce n'est pas seulement au niveau de la production, mais aussi la transformation du produit jusqu'à la commercialisation de ces produits-là. Donc, dans mon avis, il faut que le secteur privé eux-mêmes s'approprient de ces bénéfices que les CIR donnent pour l'implémentation de certains projets. Pour la 3e question, j'ai choisi au niveau des coopérations. C'est très important qu'un État peut organiser ses producteurs qui produisent chacun ou bien quelques produits pour mieux contrôler le niveau de production, non seulement au niveau des quantités, mais aussi la qualité. Pour mieux gérer, on sait que ce n'est pas toutes les régions au niveau de notre pays qui produisent un produit avec toutes les qualités, ou bien on a 18 provinces. Ce n'est pas les 18 provinces qui ont la capacité de produire un produit avec la même qualité. Donc, avec la jonction de toutes les coopératives, ou bien tous les producteurs, l'État, il va voir le meilleur contrôle, surtout la qualité, la quantité et le numéro des personnes qui produisent un certain produit. Donc, ça, c'est le point que j'ai trouvé très intéressant et que j'ai vu que c'était très important de partager avec vous. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much for that intervention, and it was very short and succinct. So I would like to now move to the session number 4, which is about promoting inclusive trade and inclusive and sustainable trade. So for that, I would like to invite our rapporteur, Ms. Atota Apinelu, who is the NIU coordinator of Tuvalu, to present 3 takeaways in 3 minutes. Over to you, Madam.
EIF Secretariat, distinguished colleagues and partners, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Atota Mamila and I'm from Tuvalu. It is with great pleasure for me to address the affirmative session 4, which is promoting inclusive and sustainable trade into 3 main important matters that have been discussed in yesterday's session. First, women empowerment, the power of the collective voice to attract attention to issues. For example, in Akanda, the cooperative has helped mobilize local governments to budget for conservation of their shared trees. Secondly, an important lesson is to the need to put an emphasis on the importance of leaving no one behind. Cannot be met if the rights of the person with disabilities are not adequately addressed also in trade-related activities. Last but not the least, I really like that the Gambia mentioned the impact of sea level rising, temperatures and of soil degradation, and how trade support can respond to those impacts. With the IF support, Gambia is currently strengthening the country's ability to assess trade-related climate finance, in which others can learn from their journey. Ladies and gentlemen, sea level rising is an issue close to my heart, and I think other countries which have similar geographical construction as mine feel the same thing as me. My country, my people is currently putting in every effort to fight for their very existence. The adverse impact of climate change has brought about so many negative thoughts and unanswered questions about the future of my country. And one thought that keeps bothering me until now is that my home is going to sink and I will not have a home in the future. We are focusing on building climate resilience and the capacity to remain where we are. I believe the biggest challenge to achieving what we have expected to achieve on small island states is the impact of climate change. Our agroforestry projects on our island cannot be successful, or shall I say, it takes time to grow properly. Because of the increased saline in the soil, there are good sites identified, but somehow, after a while, seawater started to come up. Our root crops have been affected so bad, and these are some of the main sources of the carbohydrates in our daily lives, which are cheaper than what most of our people cannot afford in the stores. With the support from the EIF, some communities have managed to come up with the ideas of planting these root crops in a way that can minimize the intrusion of seawater into these root crops. EIF has helped out a lot in terms of easing the financial burdens on our government and that of the communities in supporting activities on the ground that are important to the lives of our people at the grassroots level. Coming from one of the lowest GDP countries in the world, it is my hope and our humble request that EIF continue its support toward our country in trade-related climate finance. In addition, digitalization has the potential to cut trade costs and make participation in trade and cross-border e-commerce more inclusive, providing more opportunities for those who are not well catered for through conventional mechanisms. To conclude, we want to register our sincere gratitude and appreciation to the EIF for the immense support and assistance toward the LDCs, especially my country, Tuvalu. As mentioned before, the EIF assistance is still and very much needed to continue its support and assistance for another phase, because I think that the intervention of EIF changed the lives of the people in our country for the better. I feel that the EIF will change the lives of our people in the future in order to promote inclusive and sustainability trade. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Apinelu. That was very powerful. And I would like to now move to the session number 5, and for which I would like to invite Talata Tahalani, who is the NIU coordinator of Comoros, to provide us key takeaways on the private sector engagement and regional integration. Over to you, madam.
Merci, monsieur le directeur exécutif et président de cette séance. J'ai eu à reporter la session thématique 5 correspondant à l'engagement du secteur privé et l'intégration régionale. Sachant que le processus d'intégration régionale, on a pris l'exemple ici à travers les panélistes de la zone de libre-échange continentale. Le premier point saillant qui en est sorti de cette thématique, c'est le rôle du dialogue public-privé pour aider le secteur privé à renforcer ses capacités productives et améliorer leur compétitivité. Deuxième point qui en est sorti de présentation ici, c'est l'implication du secteur privé dans les comités de négociation commerciale pour préserver leurs intérêts commerciaux. Et toujours dans la ZLECAF et dans l'ensemble des initiatives d'intégration régionale. Et puis, deuxième point important qui en est sorti, on a montré le rôle important du CIR qui a pu accompagner les PMA pour profiter de ces potentialités de marché de la ZLECAF et à travers l'élaboration des stratégies de mise en œuvre de la ZLECAF ainsi que leur mise en œuvre. Et puis, il y a eu l'exemple d'une structure sous-régionale qui est la Commission économique africaine qui a pu montrer comment ils essaient d'accompagner les entreprises à travers des plateformes qu'ils ont mises en place dans une région du continent et comment ils collaborent avec les appuis du CIR pour soutenir le développement des entreprises en vue de tirer profit de la zone de libre-échange continentale africain. Et puis, troisième point qui a été abordé, c'est le rôle de l'intervention de WIPA pour le renforcement des agences de promotion des investissements en vue de soutenir la mise en place d'un climat des affaires propice au développement du secteur privé. Et donc, c'est en quelque sorte, en termes de défis, ce qui a été relevé, c'est qu'il faut continuer à augmenter les ressources pour accompagner le secteur privé en vue de tirer profit de l'intégration régionale, mais on a montré aussi un deuxième défi, l'engagement, le renforcement de l'engagement du secteur privé, des autorités, en vue de soutenir le secteur privé, tant dans les débats qu'ils ont dans le cadre du partenariat public-privé, toujours dans l'intérêt du commerce.
c'est en quelque sorte un résumé de ce qui a été abordé à l'occasion de la thématique 5. Merci.
Thank you, Madame Dalani, for your succinct remark. Now, I would like to invite my colleague from Trust Fund Manager, Mariam Lasseri, for providing us 3 key takeaways from the session on value for money and management of resources. Thank you, Mariam. Over to you.
Thank you, Ratnakar. I will try to be brief and concise. So, you know, in the absence of our colleague from Kiribati, I was requested, you know, to provide a brief recap of the session number 6. We've seen, you know, in the first presentation, how Lao PDR NIU implemented the EAF the EAF funded Tier 2 project using an agile approach with national human resources leverage to enable continuous feedback and adaptation throughout the project implementation. How the project involved national human resources to build local capacity and expertise, which have been, you know, long-term, which have had the long-term benefits in the country, you know, export sector. We've seen how this approach promoted value for money by ensuring that resources are used effectively and efficiently. For Cambodia, briefly, we've seen how Cambodia uses the national procurement SOPs to efficiently source key inputs for projects. Working with local suppliers has helped to build, you know, local capacity and promoted, you know, economic development in the country. Perhaps a key lesson to capture here is that the national procurement rules are key strategy for the countries to achieve the goal, the project goal impacts, while promoting, you know, greater value for money. Briefly, we've seen in our colleague in Togo, how the NIU uses a competitive selection bidding process to determine the pricing of its procurements, where the vendors are invited to bid and the evaluation is done on the quality of their products or services, as well as their proposed pricing, as further emphasized by Pierre. Where the procurement process is run in a transparent, fair, and impartial manner. The last speaker from Mauritania emphasized how inclusiveness has been mainstreamed across the EAF project to ensure inclusivity and equity in the selection, execution, and supervision of the projects. He mentioned one key lesson here I captured. He mentioned the need to first identify and understand the specific needs and concerns of the communities involved. This can be achieved through active and ongoing engagement with stakeholders at all stages of the project, from planning to implementation and evaluation. So this is what I captured briefly. Over to you. Thank you. Ratnakar.
Thank you very much, Mariam, for sticking to time and then providing a very clear sort of takeaways. Thank you for that. Now I would like to look at the clock, and then we've got less than 15 minutes, and it was meant to be a round table and where everybody could speak. So I would like to actually provide opportunity to those who have not spoken so far. And yes, please raise your flag, and then I would provide you maximum 2 minutes to make your intervention. I will take 3 to 4 interventions and then would then move towards closing. Anybody? Okay, Nepal. You have the floor. Please go ahead. Followed by Rwanda. Followed by Tuvalu.
Thank you, moderator, EAF Executive Director, for giving me the floor. Firstly, my delegation would like to thank EAF for organizing this important program, which has been able to share the achievement made issues of productive capacity, digitalization, value for money, private sector engagement, and so on. I take this opportunity to share how EIF is supporting to promote inclusive and sustainable trade and enhancing productive capacity development through the implementation of Nepal Increased Sustainable Tea Export Project, or good linkages of tea farmers, producers, and buyers. The project aims at two major outcomes. This includes first, improved compliance to international standards of Nepal tea through technology-based traceability system, and institutionalization of organic certification practices. And second, improved access to international markets through promotion and establishment of collective trademark Nepal tea quality from the Himalaya. Around 3,900 small farmers are covered by the traceability system through 22 tea processor or factories affiliated to the project. 22 factories which are qualified to the collective trademark of tea, Nepal tea quality from the Himalaya, are current beneficiary of the system. Similarly, by increasing satisfaction of the international buyers and consumers, the system will help the promotion of Nepal tea in international markets. The project has supported in the organic certification cost or renewal to 11 tea factories and cooperative in the first round. The second round of support is underway, and additional 11 factories are expected to benefit. For the sustainability of the traceability system and organic production, the project has emboldened the tea ecosystem of Nepal by promoting backward and forward linkages. Especially the intervention made by the project with regard to the construction of cattle shed, organic certification, training on the organic tea cultivation and certification, internal control system ICS, pruning and skipping, plucking and tipping, and good manufacturing practices, GMP, we would say. The training on pruning and skipping has contributed in increasing the volume of production of green leaves by 12 to 15%. Out of 4,430 farmers, processors, and beneficiaries of the project, 1,742, around 40% are women. Now, the buyers can trace the production process through the online system developed under this project. The link that you can access through the project oversight. In this regard, my delegation would like to thank all donors and EIF Secretariat for this important support. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can I invite Rwanda, followed by Tuvalu, and then Togo finally online.
Yeah.
Rwanda.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm Godfrey Gachire, SPIE coordinator or single project implementation coordinator from Rwanda. We thank IF for the support they have given to us. They have been very important in raising our export through the construction of cross-border markets with our neighbors, the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda. So this one have been a very important achievement as they enhance business and export, and also they fulfill the pillars of the CFTA or the African Continental Free Trade Area. And we also thank the IF. They supported us in the initiative of digital trade through a project of e-commerce. And we also established a Made in Rwanda portal, whereby every person all over the world can log into that www.madeinrwandaportal.gov.rw and can access all goods which are produced within Rwanda, and even they are linked to e-commerce platforms. And we thank the EIF also. They supported us in a grant to exporters so that they can be able to export their products to overseas. With that, I also take this to request IF phase 3 such that we can prioritize other activities, more especially like in Rwanda, we have the industrial parks, whereby we target some key areas like the tanneries, agro-processing, whereby here basic infrastructure in industrial parks can be developed, and we attract investors such that we can enhance that pillar of production or productivity, as we mentioned in the presentations. I will not leave the floor without mentioning the value for money, which was, I think, the last session. You mentioned about procurement and financial management, but I would like also to encourage that the issue of results or output measurement and the achievement of the project objectives. Because if we put in place and say that we afford the procedures, the procurement procedures and the financial procedures, but at the end of it, we don't achieve the project objectives, that one tantamounts to nothing. So in Rwanda, we have a practice of what we call performance audit, where they audit effectiveness, efficiency, and economy. So that thing should be also put into great emphasis, especially with the IF projects. And we have been having projects with the World Bank. That is very important. For example, if it is a road construction.
Thank you. Sorry to stop you because
so much.
we are running out of time. Thank you so much. May I invite Tuvalu now?
Thank you. I don't have much to say, but to add on to what my colleague has already said, to register our great gratitude to the EAF. However, I would like to mention a few things on inclusiveness and sustainability. I would like to mention women empowerment. Women empowerment in Tuvalu is not really something that's a concern to us. It's not really a concern because our women are not discriminated in any laws in Tuvalu. All women are the same. All women and men are the same, except for the way they were built. That's the difference. So we are not really into this women issue of differentiating women from men, but we do empower women to have the will to come up with initiative and to be involved in decision makings where men are also involved. So we are not women is not really an issue in Tuvalu, but we do consider the issues faced by women in other countries, which have imposed new laws into our country with the CEDAW. Okay, just to put that aside because I'm going on to women stuff. But we do appreciate the assistance from the EIF. And as my colleague has mentioned, it has helped us a lot. And the only challenges we have, apart from the adverse impacts of external forces, given the vulnerability of our country, it's the political will of our leaders to implement and support these activities on the ground. But somehow we have managed to achieve some of the activities that we were requesting for EIF to support. So I would like to thank EIF, and it is our hope that EIF continue on to another phase. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam, for your intervention. And one of the things that that you have raised, as well as your colleague, is relating to climate change. And there's a pilot project that we are currently supporting in Gambia. And depending on the result of this pilot project, we will be able to share lessons on how Aid for Trade can be catalyzed to mobilize climate finance and various other modes of financing in order to tackle the growing challenges in relation to climate change. So we'll continue to provide you further details as things evolve. Thank you very much for highlighting your concerns, and that this is an area where everybody needs to be aware of. Thank you so much. So I would now like to invite Togo online. Monsieur Kouka, vous avez la parole.
Merci, Monsieur le coordonnateur. Tous nos remerciements du Togo au secrétaire exécutif des cadres intégrants forcés, au directeur exécutif du secrétaire exécutif, M. Ratnaka, et toute l'équipe pour ce qu'ils font pour le Togo. Le Togo a été choisi pour l'atelier régional en octobre passé, Et le Togo est également choisi pour le conseil du CIR en novembre prochain. Je crois que c'est signe que le CIR ou le MC reste beaucoup au Togo. Mes félicitations et nous remercions à toutes ces personnalités et à toutes les équipes. Ensuite, j'ai deux préoccupations. La première, elle est relative aux facilitateurs des donateurs. Je crois que dans la piste du facilitateur des donateurs, étant une organisation des Nations Unies ou sur le plan mondial ayant des relations, peut aider les unités à pouvoir nouer des contacts et lever des fonds par ici et par là. Alors, il faudrait que les dispositions soient en sorte que le facilitateur donateur puisse effectivement jouer ce rôle en pouvant mettre en contact vraiment les unités avec telle ou telle structure, telle ambassade, telle organisation pour faciliter. Donc, je crois, à mon avis, ce n'est pas ce qui se passe exactement. Donc, les unités sont laissées pratiquement à leur sort et toutes les activités, toutes les négociations qui se font, chez nous, on nous dit il y a une direction de gestion des mobilisations des ressources publiques ou de l'aide au commerce et qu'il faut se référer et des écrits restent et on ne sait pas d'où est la suite. Alors, je sollicite également que s'il y a une suite de la troisième phase, que vraiment les montants puissent revenir à 3 millions de dollars plutôt que 1,5 million pour permettre vraiment aux unités de mise en œuvre de pouvoir obtenir et atteindre efficacement les objectifs assignés à chaque projet approuvé. Ma seconde préoccupation, c'est la durabilité des unités de mise en œuvre. Il est vrai que dans le processus où l'idée du secrétariat exécutif des cadres intégrés, c'est que après la première phase, la deuxième phase, que les unités ayant déjà d'expérience de gestion, de mobilisation, d'élaboration, etc., des projets et de mise en œuvre puissent contribuer dans les ministères où ils sont logés, souvent c'est au ministère du Commerce, pour gérer tous les projets de commerce, etc., pour le développement. Et que d'autres agents du ministère peuvent également rentrer dedans, puisque si les États ont pris en charge les salaires ou le personnel, donc les fonds serviront à la mise en œuvre des projets et ils peuvent solliciter également les compétences des ministères pour le faire. Mais qu'on aille vers la fin de la deuxième phase et que partout
Thank you, Mr. Kuka, for your intervention. Apologies, I have to stop you here because of the limited time. Thank you very much. Your points are well noted. Thank you.
Okay.
We've already run out of time, but and then Mr. Hit from Mauritania, I guess, he has also raised hand, but we won't be able to provide opportunity to him. If you have any questions or concerns or suggestion, please type them in the chat box and we'll take them forward. Thank you very much. Now I would like to just, if you allow me, Axel, just 2 minutes to maximum 3 minutes to do the thing that we should have done, we should have planned better actually. Because I really want to use this opportunity to thank, because this will be the last opportunity for the ES to speak. I would like to really use this opportunity to thank our partners, the LDCs, for delivering excellent results on the ground, for donor, for providing support to the EIF and for their continued sort of goodwill towards the EIF, and for international agencies who are our partners, not only the core agencies, but also outside for providing effective support, bringing resources and expertise to the table to help LDCs implement many important activities and achieve impressive milestones and results. So with that, I would like to pass on the floor to my colleague Simon Hayes, who has been the person behind working together with the ES team as well as with the TFM to organize this event and bring it to this stage. So Simon, I would like to provide you 2 minutes to deliver a vote of thanks, following which I would then deliver the floor to Axel. Simon.
Thank you very much, Executive Director. And in terms of this specific learning event, I would really like to, on behalf of the team here, thank the country representatives, including a number of high-level representatives, permanent secretaries, directors, focal points, NIU coordinators, as well as many others that have traveled a long way and participated so effectively, despite very different time zones, such as from the Pacific. Also, thank you to the donors and to the donor coordinator for their active involvement and time that you've dedicated to this event over the last 2 days. Our partner agencies and other key partners that have been involved. The excellent panelists, moderators, rapporteurs, who have been particularly succinct in covering a lot in just over a day and a half. And then our high-level opening and closing speakers, Ambassador Johnson, Ambassador Hassan, and DPR Hugos. Our great colleagues in the TFM, particularly in helping to facilitate the travel and participation of the centrally funded participants, WTO services, and in particular, the interpreters. Our wonderful facilitator, former Minister Axel Addy, and the great team in the Executive Secretariat who have worked around the clock to organize and service this global forum in a relatively short period of time, and with many other things going on as well. The Executive Director will also show just now a slide with a feedback form. We'll also be distributing the form around to each of you in the room for your further reflections to capture into the report of this global forum. The form and an online tool through SurveyMonkey allows for both your feedback on the event and also an opportunity to provide any further aspects that you would like to share on the themes of the last 2 days. Thank you very much. I think I'm back to you.
Thank
Thank you, Ranaka, and thanks to our rapporteurs for excellent job. Please give a round of applause for this team. Now, before I invite our distinguished coordinator, Ambassador Hassan, to close for the closing remarks, I too want to make a few points based on my experience. So perhaps actually, Ambassador, if you can join me at the table, I mean, up here on the, and Mr. Hugos, Minister Counselor, Deputy Permanent Rep for Norway, if you could also please join me. Thank you. Oh, no, I mean, you can sit in the middle. Yeah. So I know time is far spent, and before I turn the floor over to our distinguished chair of the LDC group and representative from Norway, I would like to make final remarks. First, let me say a big thank you to the EIF and particularly to Radnaka, who I met at MC13. So let's give a round of applause for the team. And our journey started, he was new to the job and I was the new Minister of Commerce on my first international mission. And at the time, I was making my first pitch for Liberia accession to the WTO. Radnaka and Arancha and the late Chidu Osakwe, may his soul rest in peace, form what we call a bond, what we call the Friends of Liberia, that facilitated one of the fastest accession process in the history of this organization for an LDC. And I think the only one in Africa so far. And so I want to thank you for your leadership, your willingness to listen to your team and to work with all of the LDCs to achieve some of the remarkable achievement we've talked about in this room today. There are a number of points I wanted to make, just 6 points per the sessions. As we leave here today and talk about EIF 3.0, EIF in the future, and what it meant for me then as a minister and a decision maker. On the first session, we talked about sustainability, coordination, and mainstreaming. For me, the greatest value of EIF as a newly appointed minister in an LDC was that for the first time, we as ministers, heads of trade-related institutions, could sit down and talk about the macroeconomy. We operated our ministries based on our policy areas in silos. So the trade minister rarely talked to the Minister of Agriculture. The trade minister rarely talks to the Minister of Justice, who approved concessions. The trade minister rarely talked to the Minister of Labor, who looked at job creation. The trade minister rarely talked to the Minister of Education, which looked at capacity building to deliver a workforce that is ready for the jobs that are being to convince the minister to support policy decisions. So that's the greatest value in sustainability, coordination, and mainstreaming. When it comes to leveraging resources, we raise about $10 million on average per year based on seed funding from EIF. Because EIF funding allow us to set up a unit that could capture, execute, and report back in an efficient way, meeting donor reporting requirements. That is value for money. And when you take that out of most trade ministries, whose budget, oftentimes, when I used to head an international organization before joining public service, when they told me what the Ministry of Trade budget was, I thought it was a joke because it represented my smallest project for the international NGO I was running. And 80% of that budget went to paying salaries. So realistically, when you create a single project implementation unit, where you bring a mix of talented civil servants, interns, and experts into one room to talk about policy decisions that the minister must make, you bring in capacity. When you bring finance accountants that are able to respond to donor requirements, you bring in the capacity needed to execute donor projects. So it wasn't only reporting to EIF. All of a sudden, we're now reporting to USAID. We're reporting to JICA. We're reporting, and the funding grew because we could capture and deploy and report back in a timely manner. So that is very, very important. EIF funds have been able to leverage EIF funding. Third, when you talk about catalyzing systemic change in a productive area, when I took over, there was a sector, we heard rumors about, but nobody took interest in it. Imagine Liberia after 3 decades of war, one of the coolest destinations for surfing. We're able to get EIF to invest in a study that help us launch a tourism strategy. And today we have investments in the tourism sector and surfing that has brought surfers and the whole support infrastructure around surfing, around tourism, that is being led by the private sector. And so for me, that's a critical value, because now in LDCs, you have niche opportunity for exports to niche markets. We may not be able to meet the supply side demand, but we're able to attract investment for niche markets. So it's a very critical value. When we talk about inclusion, we now have programs that are directly impacting the lives of women. And so when you sum up what the EIF is and what Aid for Trade is, it sums up in one word: people. It is the people, like all of you in this room, that sit in your offices and brainstorm about how do we leverage our comparative advantage to inspire, empower, and impact the lives of those people, especially vulnerable populations, our women and youth. And then we talk about the private sector engagement. This process of having to sit down together and dialogue about challenges. We executed some of the most robust reforms in Liberia because of that private sector engagement. When we talk about, one example is business registration. We did a tour of the country and realized that it wasn't that the private sector was now willing to register the business, is that the time it took and the fees and understanding why all these fees, we eliminated all of those, okay, to one fee, and we made it a virtual process. And then finally, value for money. Value for money is the capacity that this support brings to LDCs. When I was minister, we had over 40 young people across trade-related institutions trained in Liberia and all over the world. Wherever we found support, we're able to send young people. That value is back in Liberia. Some of them are operating in the private sector, and they are contributing to how the private sector engaged government. They are contributing to some of the transformation we see outside of the politics in Liberia. Now, the greatest threat is elections, because you can have one administration that is driving all of these reforms in one direction, and you can have another administration take over where the priorities tend to shift. But in summary, Aid for Trade is even more critical today than it was when I was minister. As LDCs deal with climate challenges, and I often tell people, weather patterns do not need visas to travel. The challenges of the environment are not only for the poor. It could care less of the race or the economic status. They don't need, the weather issues we are seeing today, there's no visa requirement or passport. And so it's needed more so than ever. So I want to conclude with that and say thank you for all of the support, and I hope you all continue to support this program. Madam Ambassador, I'll now turn the floor over to you.
Thank you very much, Excellency and dear facilitator. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants, let me start also by thanking the distinguished speakers and moderators and facilitator, and also for the very valuable inputs of all participants. As we approach the conclusion of this EIF Global Forum, I am very pleased for the shared commitment and enthusiasm that has characterized our discussions over the past 2 days. Your presence and active engagement have truly enriched this event, making it a remarkable platform for learning, collaboration, and inspiration. Reflecting on the discussions from yesterday and today, it is clear that the EIF Global Forum has fulfilled this purpose. The objective of this forum was to harness the lessons learned from the EIF implementation and to promote experience sharing and South-South cooperation on Aid for Trade. I'm delighted to say that we have indeed achieved these objectives. The Doha Program of Action outlined renewed and strengthened commitments between the LDCs and their development partners, including the private sector, civil society, and governments at all levels. I'm pleased to note that this forum demonstrated that progress is on the way to fulfill these commitments across three critical areas, such as international trade, regional integration, digital trade, and women's economic empowerment. It is important to highlight the target in paragraph 169 of the Doha Program of Action on significantly increasing aid for trade support for the LDCs, a doubling of the levels in 2018. And this forum demonstrates a humble disposition to achieve this goal. The thematic subjects covered in this forum were very enlightening, from sustainability, coordination, and mainstreaming of trade in the LDCs to the essential matters of leveraging resources and partners' expertise. We have collectively examined the challenges and opportunities facing the LDCs on their path to inclusive and sustainable development through trade. We have also examined how trade in general and aid for trade in particular can be instrumental in helping countries realize their development aspirations. And I think hearing just right now, Minister Adi just added one more level of what I'm referring to. The EIF Global Forum, it's timely, and at this juncture, since LDCs and our partners, and I'm referring here to donors, international agencies, the EIF team itself, we are all embarking on discussions on the future of EIF program. We had so far discussions on how best to take up the evaluation reports and recommendations of ODI consultant reports rendered a few months ago. Just maybe as to update you also, for those of you who are coming from the capital, we try here as much as possible as the Geneva-based LDC's representative to keep you posted. But we at this stage have a task force, the task force members discussing the future of EIF has been established, and very soon they will start working on the table of reference so that they can have the next framework for the next phase of EIF. I think that when we look at the discussion these 2 days, the importance of implementing Doha Program of Action has been highlighted, and I hope that the next phase would assist efficiently and effectively in doing so that we won't have any lingering, I would say, lingering of all the focus areas of the Doha Program of Action. I just wanted maybe also to indicate that we, as LDCs here, we had we engaged our partners, the donors, and I want to here take this opportunity to thank them for their efforts in meeting LDC's request of ensuring continuity of the current program while deciding and adopting the new phase or the new program for EIF. Indeed, we will be guided by the principle that you mentioned, and we heard that the real added value of the EIF has been its commitment to the principle of country ownership and unwavering support of its partners, coupled with the full suite of support provided to LDCs based on their nationally determined priorities. The EIF achievement in helping LDCs to use trade as an instrument for poverty reduction, women economic empowerment, digital transformation, and promoting inclusive trade have been well documented. EIF journey has been marked by evolving challenges and the urgent need to address them. At all times, the EIF partnership has remained firm in its mission dedicated to empowering the LDCs and leaving no one behind. The presence of in-country partners here in Geneva provides a unique opportunity to obtain valuable perspective into ongoing discussion in an environment of open sharing and trust. I hope our discussion will meet also the ambitious Doha Program of Action. In closing, I want to express my deep appreciation for your dedication to the EIF, those of you in the field, as well as those supporting those in the field from Geneva. Together, we have demonstrated that trade can indeed be a force for positive change in the LDCs in line with the commitments we have made in the Doha Program of Action. Thank you once again for your unwavering commitment, and I look forward to the continued support and success of the EIF partnership in the future. And I would like to thank the organizers, Simon, and all the EIF team involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. Mr. Ruiz, you have the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers and moderators and valued partners, standing between you and your lunch, I will try to be brief, but let me first, like others, sincerely thank you for all your engagement at this global forum. All the sessions have been very relevant and truly enriching in my view. Just two things. Firstly, the thematic subjects we have discussed are of critical importance to LDC development, including regional integration, digital trade, and women's economic empowerment, to mention a few. The EIF program is aligned to the important commitments we have made on aid for trade in the Doha Program of Action and our collective efforts towards the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals in the LDCs. But I think it has also demonstrated necessary flexibility in assisting LDCs with very different economic structures to strengthen the trade-related infrastructure and export potential in their most relevant sectors. In this regard, we have heard about agricultural products, tourism with backward linkages into the local economy, the increasing importance of e-commerce, among many good examples. Secondly, as donor partners of the EIF, obtaining first-hand knowledge of the experiences of the implementing partners is invaluable, as we might often miss this, not least here in Geneva as trade diplomats. It is a timely reminder that we continuously need to strengthen the dialogue between the trade community and the development community in our capitals, and also to ensure that we always work to obtain value for money, as discussed in the last session. I thank the EIF Executive Secretariat and the Trust Fund Manager for ensuring the inclusion of donors in the program and the partners who have graciously shared their insights. And I look forward to seeing you at the closing reception starting shortly and to continue our ongoing productive formal engagements. Thank you all once again.
Thank you, Mr. Hugos, and thank you, Ambassador. And thanks to our interpreters.
Thank you.
The session is hereby closed.
Thank you.